Hello and welcome to our first edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School from Monterey, California. I'm your host, Alan Richmond. In this segment, we'll be looking at several research projects going on the campus here at NPS. But first, let's start with a recent visit by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. On Tuesday, August 11, 2009, Admiral Michael Mullen, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was the 11th individual inducted into the Naval Postgraduate School Hall of Fame. We had an opportunity to visit with Admiral Mullen and discuss his experiences and the role NPS has played in his career. Welcome, Admiral Mullen. Well, it's been quite a day for you, being the 11th person inducted into the NPS Hall of Fame. I'm wondering if you can share your feelings with us.
Well, the PG school here at Monterey is a very special place in my life and really my family's life. I came here, I was a very senior officer when I came here. I was a commander, two young kids. We were driving yesterday out in town and to see Dennis the Menace Park, which is a famous park here. Just an awful lot of really great memories come running back. But to be here and to be inducted into the Hall of Fame is very special because the institution is so special and has meant so much to me, both personally, but also so much to the Navy and really to our military writ large. So it's a great honor. I didn't do this alone. I did this because we have had a great faculty then, as we do now. It's a great curriculum. It's very demanding. And I got an awful lot out of it, and it really helped me. It helped guide me in many ways to a future that I didn't really understand. So I'm very humbled and grateful that I'm able to come here today and to be inducted into the Hall of Fame is indeed very special.
You've talked about the role of education, and I'm just wondering, how did your education and the time you spent here at the Naval Postgraduate School assist you with the rest of your career?
Well, I wasn't the best undergraduate student prior to the time that I got here, and always as I grew up and matured, I really sought an opportunity to get a graduate education, and I couldn't have gotten a better one than the one I got here. And what it taught me was how to frame very difficult problems. It taught me how to look at big challenges in different ways. But it wasn't just the curriculum, because it was my interaction with my classmates and my interaction with many students from some 50 plus countries that were here at the time that also broadened my horizons dramatically. So it was the interaction of not just the education, which was very demanding for me at that time, but it was the total experience which was so special. And it really, for the first time in my career, taught me what education was all about, gave me a valuable experience upon which I could then make my both decisions and judgments, not just about my future, but as I got to more senior leadership positions, about the future and the value of this institution and educational institutions throughout the military.
On a similar note, what role do you think advanced education plays in today's military?
Well, this institution and advanced education is, I think, absolutely critical to our future at a time when so much is changing. There are so many different ways to look at being out on the leading edge, and the exchange of ideas and the exposure to a broader base of people, technologies, research is absolutely vital for our young officers, both ours from the United States as well as the international officers who are here, to make sure we can keep pace with and in fact lead the kind of change that is absolutely mandatory for our future with respect to the United States military.
What advice would you have for young officers that are contemplating coming to the Naval Postgraduate School?
Since I came in the Navy over 40 years ago, the one constant that our young people, both enlisted and officer, have sought has been increased, improved education. And it's something they've wanted, and they continue to seek that today. And I think we need to be able, as an institution, to answer that need. And it isn't all necessarily here at the postgraduate school, although the postgraduate school is the anchor for our education, advanced education, certainly in the Navy, and in many ways in the military. But it's seeking that kind of advanced education that puts us out in front of our needs for the future, but also meets the personal needs of our young people who seek this kind of advanced degree. So it's not just about the institution of the military, it's also very much about individuals, and I would urge them to seek an advanced education in every possible venue, whether it's distance learning or civilian institutions or an institution like this. And I think it doesn't just make them better, it will make all of us better.
What makes a Naval Postgraduate School advanced education relevant in today's global society, and how do you think that plays into national security issues?
Again, I find us changing incredibly rapidly. The need to have knowledgeable people with the kind of the knowledge in the kind of technologies that are emerging, that we are in fact tied to the leading edge of their development and their application, and being able to apply those in the kinds of environments in which we will find ourselves. Again, the postgraduate school here, I think, is a crown jewel, and those who are here represent so much of our future. So the need to get it right from an education standpoint has never been more important, and I'm delighted that this institution and others are focused on exactly that.
Admiral, many of our alumni talk about relationships that they develop when they're at the Naval Postgraduate School. And I'm just wondering, in your career, did those relationships you developed here follow your career path later on?
Well, I was a little more senior than most. Most students come here at the lieutenant or captain level or the lieutenant commander major level. I was a fairly senior commander at the time when I came. So I had been in many countries before I got here, but this was the first very broad exposure to so many cultures in one place. For me, it was over 50 countries who had students here at the time. And those relationships and that understanding helped me immensely in terms of the future that I would have and the need to really see things through other people's eyes, sit back and listen to the challenges that exist not just in my own country, but the challenges that exist in other countries. And that has all come very much to fruition in my current assignment, where no one can do it alone, no one country, no one person. It is very much tied to these relationships, which are key, which started for me back then and continue to this day.
Well, once again, congratulations and welcome home.
Thank you, Alan. It's great to be here.
While its proximity to the ocean is well documented, it might be the Naval Postgraduate School's relationship with space that makes it even more unique and relevant. 33 astronauts have graduated from the Naval Postgraduate School, more than any other graduate school in the country. And working to add to that number is NPS's Space Systems Academic Group. Led by Dr. Rudolf Panholzer, the program is just one example of cutting-edge research that happens every single day at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California.
NPS is extremely unique. We are bridging the gap between civilian institutions and government institutions. So as a university, we have one foot in each of the camps. And as such, we can reach out to the civilian population, to the civilian students, and at the same time, able to educate our military officers and have interactions between the two camps.
With two former astronauts serving as professors, Jim Newman and Dan Bursch, students at NPS receive an unparalleled education from leaders in the field.
Where else, I would say, in the world do you have two astronauts teaching a course in orbital dynamics? So they can really talk from experience, and of course the students loved it.
I think that having that background in space does actually help me keep my feet on the ground and also to apply the research that we're doing into real-world problems and make sure that we stay on track.
Much of the instruction in the Space Systems Academic Group is hands-on.
Instead of just doing classroom learning, they can take that classroom learning and go into the laboratory and do a thesis with a professor here, typically on cutting-edge research, things that haven't been done before, that are of direct relevance and of great interest to the services and to our country.
A perfect example of this is the school's CubeSat program. The program not only gives students a chance to design and build what are essentially miniature satellites, it gives them a chance to see their hard work actually make it into space someday.
That was actually the main reason why I joined this project. because the work on the satellite can be done in the lifetime of a student. And you could go from beginning design plans to development, integration, and hopefully launch and operations throughout my time here.
CubeSats are finding greater acceptance among the national organizations in our country. Originally, they were looked at as educational toys. However, now that NASA and other organizations are showing their real utility, we're able to put more and more interesting payloads into these very small satellites. They'll never replace national systems. It's very important to remember that for certain Earth observation activities and other things, you need large satellites. However, for focused research objectives of national interest, the CubeSat is proving itself in ways that were heretofore unexpected.
Whether it be sending something into space or going there yourself one day, the idea of connecting to this final frontier keeps students and faculty consistently engaged in studies and research at the Naval Postgraduate School.
When you see the students getting involved in some space project, their eyes light up and they're very enthusiastic about working with our professors, including the astronauts. And there is the future, and it's nice to see the future reflected in the eyes of our young students.
The appeal of space has certainly been a major influence in my life, and the idea of putting things into space, of being part of that activity, has always fascinated me, and I find that I share a lot of that enthusiasm with our students.
We'll be back with more of Inside NPS right after this. Welcome back to Inside NPS. Let's take a look at how NPS has responded to a recent natural disaster. The news of the earthquake and resulting disaster in Haiti conjure up familiar feelings for the Naval Postgraduate School's Brian Steckler.
This is, deja vu all over again. I did this 5 years ago, then Hurricane Katrina. These are all the same in that they are chaotic.
What Steckler did and will do in Haiti is provide communication networks in an environment where so far communication has been severely limited.
5 things are always mentioned on almost every newscast: food, water, shelter, medicine, or doctors and nurses, and the 5th thing is communications. I don't make that number 5, I make that number 1. If you can't communicate, you can't operate. We know it's going to be a fluid environment. We know we're going to be around death and destruction and sorrow and misery, and one of my jobs is to focus on us just doing communications and not getting distracted.
A team led by Steckler will use a number of tools and technologies to provide the wireless networks, including satellite communications, Wi-Fi, and a technology called WiMAX.
These are broadband long-haul ground wireless links, 10-20 miles point to point. Aim these 2 antennas and you can carry your network and your satellite connection to the internet from one location, say one town, 10-20 miles away to the other side from just this one link, wirelessly.
Steckler's work in natural disasters began a little over 5 years ago when he provided technology during the tsunami that killed over 200,000 people throughout Southeast Asia.
I was working with the Thailand military already with wireless technologies before the tsunami hit. Got there a few days after it hit with a bunch of gear that we were using for something else. We instead used it for disaster relief on the coast, and that's where we really started. Hurricane Katrina hit. We deployed a much larger team to Katrina from NPS that included several people from Cisco and Microsoft and other industry partners and some other academic partners, all kind of working with us and for us under our umbrella.
Ramsey Meyer is a research associate at NPS and part of Steckler's team. This will be his first time working in response to a natural disaster, an experience he's trying to prepare for.
Just sort of imagining what I'm going to be going into. I think I probably can't possibly imagine it, and to a certain extent I think it's going to be something new for Brian as well. He did Katrina, hurricane, and they also did Thailand, the tsunami. This is a different type of disaster. It's an earthquake. The type of destruction I think is going to be different, and it's also in a very, very poor country. Even pales in comparison to Southeast Asia. So it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and the conditions before the earthquake were not good at all. So I think we're in for some shock.
And while Ramsey says the team's mission is sure to be challenging, he's proud to represent the Naval Postgraduate School in this important effort.
A lot of people don't realize that we do this here at the Naval Postgraduate School, and it's a high priority for the Department of Defense to be able to provide humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, and also to reach out to international communities, including non-governmental organizations and other militaries and things like that. So I think it speaks very highly of the Naval Postgraduate School, the breadth of programs here, and also our interest in helping people.
Hello, I'm Dan Oliver, President of the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. NPS is blessed with a world-class faculty that provide unique, relevant, advanced education and research programs that increase the combat effectiveness of our naval services, our sister services, those of our partners and allies, in order to enhance our national security. NPS has a long and celebrated history. During this, our centennial year, I invite you personally to come out and visit so that you can see firsthand what a world-class institution NPS really is. Thank you.
The Naval Postgraduate School has shared a special relationship with its neighbor in Monterey, the Defense Language Institute, for many years. Together, the two schools provide the Department of Defense with an arsenal of knowledge that is unmatched. In the Naval Postgraduate School's case, this knowledge comes in the form of graduate research, technology development, and a working relationship with military students from around the globe. With the Defense Language Institute, it's the crucial skill of foreign language knowledge that is at the forefront. Recently, I had an opportunity to sit down with the Commandant of DLI, Colonel Sue-Ann Sandusky, and I asked her what image she'd like people to think of when they think of DLI.
I'd like to have an image of a tremendously dynamic, agile, responsive organization that is the nation's center of culturally based foreign language expertise put in the service of our national security. Our students are among the best and the brightest that the Defense Department has to offer. Our teachers are world-class national treasures, most of whom are native speakers of the languages they teach. We're not just the little schoolhouse up here on the hilltop, Presidio of Monterey. The expertise that we generate from DLI Monterey and project literally globally is really what I'd like people to think of when they think of DLI.
It isn't just physical proximity that connects NPS and DLI. The two schools are closely related in other ways as well, most notably through the Foreign Area Officers Program.
Well, NPS and DLI have great collaboration, and it's primarily focused on the foreign area officers. These are officers who are expected to be regional experts, have a high level of language skill, be able to engage in military-to-military diplomacy, operationally advance U.S. interest wherever they are. Not very many DLI students are officers, but the vast majority of our officer students are FAOs, and a significant portion of those FAO students go to the Naval Postgraduate School either before or after they do their language course at DLI. Another area of collaboration that I think is going to grow is on the modeling, virtual environments, simulations, and generally information technology plane. You are, again, one of the national leaders in that area. We, on the language side, are on the cutting edge of technology applications to language learning, and I see growing collaboration in that area as well. And then from the standpoint of participating in the broader Monterey community, DLI and NPS, I think, are by the local citizenry sometimes thought of almost in one breath as a unified entity, and we do collectively together have a huge positive economic impact on the peninsula.
The Naval Postgraduate School and the Defense Language Institute Foreign Language Center in Monterey, providing relevant research and education to the Department of Defense in the past, in the present, and in the future. Inside NPS continues right after this break. Well, at any given time here at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, there's a multitude of projects going on simultaneously. One of the most recent, you can see over my shoulder, is called the Segmented Mirror Telescope. We had an opportunity to talk with its project manager, Professor Bridge Agrawal. It was a Christmas present that came a week early for Professor Bridge Agrawal and his colleagues. In fact, a very large present.
We were not sure whether when we will get it or even will get it.
But get it, they did. And it is one of the newest and most exciting research tools at the Naval Postgraduate School. This segmented mirror telescope will provide NPS faculty and students with a unique hands-on learning experience.
I think we are very lucky to get this hardware, and it is very unique. I don't think any other organization or lab or university have such a piece.
So what exactly is a segmented mirror telescope?
Segmented mirror telescope, as the name implies, that you do not have a continuous surface. It consists of several segments. And the reason we do it, that if you want a large telescope, then you cannot launch in the launch vehicle. So you basically form segment and you store it during launch and then you deploy it.
And while segmented mirror telescopes may represent the future of large telescopes, many are still in the development stage. This one, in particular, came to the Naval Postgraduate School because of an ongoing relationship with the National Reconnaissance Office.
NRO basically wanted to develop technology for large telescope imaging satellite because they wanted to put satellite into the higher orbit. And we basically participated in their development starting about 4 years back. So we have been familiar with what they were doing, what kind of technology. We even had a PhD student working on the controls and a couple of masters. So we worked very closely with NRO on the development. Then we also supported them in the testing of this telescope. Finally, NRO decided to basically close the research program, and that's where they were looking where it should go. And they looked into different organizations, and they decided to transfer to us because we have been involved.
Melissa Corley is an NPS student specializing in adaptive optics. She says the telescope will be a huge asset to students like herself.
It's been a long process to get it here, but when students are able to actually work with a piece of hardware like that, I think it gets them excited about the possibilities, and you're not just staring at a computer, working at a computer all day, you're actually working with a 3-meter telescope, which is pretty rare. And so it's great to have that here so to inspire students and get people to actually consider some tough problems in engineering that they might not otherwise consider if they didn't have a cool piece of hardware to work with in space.
And while there's an immediate benefit to Naval Postgraduate School students, the students' experience will in turn be a benefit to NRO.
They basically have access to the really complex system. So I think that's a unique thing at NRO. We don't just do analytical work. They get hands-on experience on the complex system. So when they go and become program manager at NRO or other places, they understand the complexity and they will be able to provide a leadership in the development of these systems.
Simply acquiring the segmented mirror telescope took a lot of work, but Bridge Agrawal says the real effort has just begun.
We got it, but again, this is just a start. We have a lot of work ahead of us to basically use it, coordinate with other organizations, and so I think we are very excited, but the work is not done.
What I learned here at NPS and specifically in my curriculum is going to help me in any job that I go to, because I think it's just gotten me back into that academic mode, learning more, keeping up with current events, and just giving a better perspective of what's going on across DoD and across the international community.
One of the best things about Naval Postgraduate School is they bring together not only experts in the academic field, but also from the military profession, and it kind of melds those two and provides a unique perspective that I think other institutions that are great just aren't able to provide to the military professionals specifically.
Once you come here to NPS, it drastically changes the way you think about operations and strategy. And being able to walk out of here with that kind of thought process will really help me be able to articulate to my future bosses, and eventually, if I am a commander, to be able to articulate what I need as a commander to get things done. And this is just a way to provide that foundation for you.
Getting the chance to live in Monterey or in the Monterey Bay area, to experience coming to school here, getting this level of education, working with the faculty, they're top-notch, and the education that you're going to get coming out of here is right along with any graduate program that the military has to offer. And so I would encourage any person that gets an opportunity to come to NPS to take advantage of it, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and they're not going to regret it.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed your visit to the campus here at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, and that you'll visit with us again very soon. I'm your host, Alan Richmond. Thanks for joining us.